Welcome back to this Blender for Beginners tutorial series. In this video, we'll be covering the very basics of particle systems. Particle systems are a way of making objects emit from another object, scatter them on the surface, or simulate hair. You may have heard that particle systems are being made obsolete by something called geometry nodes. So why bother covering this subject? Well, geometry nodes are a very new feature in Blender, and there are many cases in which they are still better than particle systems. One area where particles are still very relevant is in hair simulations. Since our towel needs to have some fuzzy quality to it, we are going to be setting up a basic particle system for hair. In order to do that, we need to first select our emitter, that is the object from which objects are going to be emitted or grown. In our case, we're going to be growing them because hair is the type of particle system we will be adding. There are two types of particle system. One is emitter, one is hair. Once we have the towel selected, we can click on the tab over here for particle systems. Click plus to add a particle system. And we will be changing our type to hair. And you'll see you have all these enormous lines coming off of our towel. So the towel is our emitter, and that's not to be confused with emitter type. Particle system that is an emitter type emits things from the emitter. In the hair case, hair grows from the emitter. So first, we want to make these hairs a whole lot shorter. So we want to make them something like 0.005. And they will be very small. Now, you'll see that they're only growing on one side. That is because we have a solidify modifier on, and we only have geometry on that inner side. So if we were to grow hair on all sides of the mesh, we need to turn on an option called Use Modifier Stack. The Use Modifier Stack option is found under Source here. So just checking that box, if we go back to the Modifier Stack, you'll see that we have our Solidify, we have our Subdivision, and then Particle Settings. So we could move these around, but we don't want to do that in this case. This is just to show that this Use Modifier Stack option puts it in the modifier stack in the order we want. So in my final render, I had the hair count set to about 6,000. And in your viewport, it just looks like a bunch of little lines. That's because they are very simplified in the viewport, so as not to slow anything down. We could also change the amount of segments in each hair. We could turn that down. However, we're not going to do that. If you're finding that your viewport is really slowing down, turn that down a little bit. The next thing we want to click on in here is Children. This means that every one of these hairs will have nothing growing around it. What you see in the viewport is what you'll get. Simple or interpolated will grow this many hairs around each hair in the final render. So what you're seeing here is just a representation that there's more than your 6,000 number here at the top. So when right now you see 10 times your 6,000, in the final render there would be 100 times. So we really don't want this many. Let's turn this down to 1 for our viewport, and we don't want a completely fur covered towel. That would look like some kind of animal skin or something. We just want the little fuzzies to catch some light so that the viewer gets the idea that this is made of fabric. So we're going to turn this way down to 4. In our final render, each of these hairs will have 4 children hairs around it. For our purposes in this project, that is really all we need to do. That is the hair system we need. However, I'll cover a few more aspects of the hair particle system over here. It is in the modifier stack, but it is not a modifier itself. Under render, you'll see render as path is what we have selected. That will make it look like actual hair. However, you can change that to object. So you can have an object in your scene that you want to scatter around. You would select this, and then select the object from the scene that you want to put there, or that you want to scatter around. Likewise, you could choose a collection from your scene collection up here. However, we are not going to do that. We're going to keep it on path. When you're using objects to scatter around, you'll always want to select advanced, because that will give you this rotation option. For some reason, it's an advanced option to be able to have random rotation on your objects. Like if you have maybe 3 rock models that you want to scatter all around, you don't want them all to look like they're the same rock facing the same direction, you would randomize their rotation here. Also, hair dynamics is an advanced option. That will disappear if we don't have advanced on. My bad. That is not the case. Hair dynamics, if checked, will give us some options to let the hair react to the environment. So we can put in forces like wind or gravity. When the emitter object moves, the hair will react to that kind of thing. It's basically for animation. Or if you're doing a still, even if you have longer hair that needs to kind of droop or something like that, you would have hair dynamics turned on so that gravity affects it. However, this will take all the power out of your machine that you have to do, especially if you have a lot of hair on the scene, if you're doing an animal or a head of hair or something like that for a character. We're not really going to cover a whole lot here because, like I mentioned earlier, geometry nodes are the way to go when you're scattering objects around. We can cover that in another video, but we will not be doing that in this series because we have nothing to scatter around. We just have hairs to put on this towel. So I'm going to end the video there, and we'll pick up in the next video with some more modeling. And we're actually going to be moving on to some of our major set pieces now, rather than these small objects that were really just going to populate the scene for us. So I will see you in the next video. Hey guys, if you found this video useful, hit like and consider subscribing to the channel. And you can turn on that notification bell too so that you don't miss future videos. Until next time, I'm Carl with Blender Forge.